Hello everyone, welcome to the CloudLearn AWS Zero to Hero series. This is a day 10 video in which we are going to manage the EBS volumes. In the last video, we started about the EBS. We have seen like what are the different types of EBS volumes and how to attach the EBS volume to the one EC2 instance. How can we detach and how can we reattach to the other EC2 instances and all. Let me give you a quick overview about the EBS and then we can move on with EBS volume management. So EBS is a block-based storage which can be used as a storage disk for EC2 instances. And the EBS volumes can be attached to the instances in the same availability zone. You can't attach the EBS volume, which is in 1A availability zone, to the instance which is in 1B availability zone. They has to be attached in the same availability zones. And we can detach and we can reattach to the other instances. Why? At a time, you cannot attach the EBS volume to multiple EC2 instances by default. There is one volume type which is IO1 which supports multi-attach feature, but it has a lot of restrictions that can be used only with the Linux EC2 instances. Up to 16 instances you can attach and all, but in the real time, we don't use that much. Okay, so let us focus on the volume management. Let us focus on volume management. So I will take this one, the 1 GB volume, which is attached to the server 1 EC2 instance. So here, assume this is the 1 GB volume, which is attached to the server 1 as a D drive. After few days, that entire 1 GB is filled up. There is not enough space to store enough data. So what is the requirement? If I add an additional volume, that will become a E drive, right? A different drive. But the requirement is to increase the size of the 1 GB volume to 3 GB volume. Means if I add extra 2 GB space to an existing EBS volume so that the 1 GB and the 2 GB can be merged together to form a 3 GB volume without losing any data. Without losing any data, we can increase the volume size, but you cannot reduce the volume size. You can only increase, you can't reduce. That part we will cover. Not only the volume increasing, this is a GP2 type, right? This is a GP2 type. Let us say performance is not enough to support the application. So you have to increase it to GP3, IO1 or so. That is also possible. That we will cover in this particular video. So EBS volume management. Under this EBS volume management, we can manage the, or I can say, we can increase the volume size without losing existing data, and also we can change the volume type from one EBS type to another. Like example, right now let us say we have a GP2 that we can change to GP3, or that we can change to IO1, or that we can change to what we call that SC1 or ST1 and so on. And here we cannot reduce the volume size. Let us say if you have a 10 GB volume, you can't reduce that to 9 GB, 8 GB or so. Only you can increase it. Okay, right. So now, first what we do is the 1 GB EBS volume of a GP2 type is already attached to server 1A. That we will verify. And it contains 10 files. We'll verify that. Okay, so first log into server 1A and observe 10 files already exist in D drive. Then what we do, increase the volume size of the 1 GB volume to 3 GB. Means we have to add extra 2 GB. And then we will observe whether we lost the data or not. Okay, right. So first quickly what I do is I will log into server 1. How to log in? Just open the remote desktop connection, enter the public IP address, and let me use the password. Just I'm logging in into the server 1A. Because why I'm logging in and verifying is after modifying the volume size, we have to confirm that there is no data loss, right? Okay, so let me open the file explorer. Okay, so we have C and D, which is a 1 GB drive. How many files we have? Let me select all and I can see 10 items, 10 files. Okay, so let me minimize this. Now, what is the next step? We have to increase the volume size from 1 GB to 3 GB. How to increase? Just log into your AWS account, navigate to the EC2 service. Then on the left side, under Elastic Block Store, click on Volumes, select the volume for which you would like to increase the size, Actions, Modify Volume. Just change this from 1 GB to 3 GB. If you want to change the volume type, you can change this. That we can see in the next task. Let me click on Modify. Modify. That's it. So you can observe here, this is a 1 GB volume. Let me refresh. What is the size? 3 GB. Let me scroll aside. What is the state? Optimizing. What is this optimizing? Because of changing the volume size, if you are getting some extra performance resources like IOPS or something, your disk will be optimized with additional extra resources. But while it is optimizing, you can use your disk without any issues. Okay, now let me go to my server 1 because earlier I did not closed or logged out. Just I minimized like how we minimize our browser. So again, I maximized. Let me go to the my computer. Let me refresh, but still it is showing 1 GB. Why? Why still it is showing 1 GB? Any guess? Why it is showing 1 GB? Okay, let me explain. So here, sorry, we have already 1 GB storage, right? Which is a volume, which is having NTFS file system. Then we added extra 2 GB, which is unallocated space, which is unallocated space. What you have to do here, we need to create a file system. But if I create a file system in the 2 GB, what happens? It will becomes a E drive. But that is not our requirement. I don't want to create a new simple volume or so. What I have to do is I have to merge these two. For that, we have an option called extend. This is the Windows operating system related configuration. We are going to extend this 1 GB by including the existing 2 GB to make this as a 3 GB drive. How to do that? For that, log into the server to which that volume has been attached. Then go to disk management. How? Click on start, then type run, open this run, then type disk mgmt.msc. Disk management console will be open. Can you see the 2 GB as an unallocated space? If I right click here and if I click on new simple volume, it will become a new drive called E drive. like how you can divide your existing hard disk into multiple partitions. But that is not our goal. How to do that? Right click on the existing 1 GB volume, 1 GB drive. Here you can see an option called extend volume. Next, this has to be extended with existing 2 GB unallocated space. Next, finish. Now these two will be merged and they will combine and it will form the 3 GB single drive. Okay, now let me close this, refresh. See here, 3 GB. If I open, I can see all 10 files. There is no data loss. This is how you can increase the volume size. Now what I do is, I will try to reduce the volume size from the 130 GB to 128 GB. But I said, which is not possible, but we will try. We will observe that practically so that we can remember that forever. Reduce the EBS volume size from 130 GB to 127 GB, but which is not possible. That we will verify practically. Same procedure. Go there, select the volume, actions, modify volume. This 130 GB, I will try to use 127. What is the error? The size of the volume can only be only be increased, not decreased. Okay, this time change the volume type of 125, the 130 GB volume from, what is the current volume type? ST1, from ST1 to GP3. Okay, let us see this. How to do that? Select the volume, actions, modify volume, ST1, GP3, modify, modify. Just do a refresh so that the console will be refreshed. What happened here? We got it, GP3. This is how you can change the volume type. You can change the volume type from any type to any type. There is no restriction. And so the 1 GB volume, this is the one, right? We increased that to 3 GB just few minutes ago, right? Can I increase this from 3 GB to 5 GB? Is that possible? No. There is a restriction, or I can say there is a limitation that you cannot modify a volume twice in a 6-hour window. You cannot modify an EBS volume to more than once in a 6-hour window. Let me show you that practically. I will try to change the volume again in just in a 5 minutes window. Select that, actions, modify volume. Let me change that to 5 GB. Modify, modify. What is the error? Modify volume request failed. What is the reason? You have reached the maximum modification rate per volume limit. Wait at least 6 hours between modifications per EBS volume. What is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that? A volume cannot be modified more than once in a 6-hour window. An EBS volume cannot be modified more than once in a 6-hour window. You must wait at least 6 hours to modify the same volume again. That you can check practically. Like I can say, modify the volume, the 3 GB volume, which is recently modified again by increasing the size to 5 GB. And observe, we cannot modify and we have to wait for at least 6 hours. Even though we know the concept that you cannot modify, you must verify that practically so that we can remember that particular point. Okay, right. So this is about volume management, how you can modify the volume in terms of increasing the size or changing the volume type. I hope the volume management is clear. And if you have any questions about the volume management, drop in your questions in the comment section and I will answer those questions. Thank you, everyone. We'll continue in the next video.